What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Dent Digest Live Show. It's been a interesting weather day here in good old Maryland. We had some 70-degree days the other day, and today it was snowing. So I don't know. I don't know. I think spring is hanging out with COVID. Got a little bit of the case of the COVID, so it's kind of staying, behind the scenes. So we've got a little bit of industry news. You guys probably saw the heading of the thumbnail. Matt Moore is throwing on a PDR 101 seminar, so we're going to get into that. You also have Dave Stream's Dream event that is coming up, Dave and Don. So if you guys have not signed up for that, at least go support them, get on there, sign up. It should be a pretty good event. But I do have to thank somebody. Good old David from Pacific Coast PDR sent me this badass sweatshirt. I really appreciate it, Dave. It should be really good. I should have worn it today with all the snow. But I got a couple tools I wanted to bring on. Some stuff I haven't quite had a chance to use, but I'm excited about them. I'm a huge fan of this one tool, and this is kind of a revised tool of it from B&D Tools, and it's the new Edge Fender adjustable pliers. I did a review on both of the other ones and kind of compared, because a lot of people were asking, which one should we buy? So I kind of broke that down. So I'm going to have to get this one back up and show the differences. I love the color. I did use this tool the other day on a bedside down low on a Ford. It was kind of hit all the way down by the very end of the bedside and did get, pretty good leverage on it and pretty good pushing power. And I really like the adjustability of these for your line of sight, to where you can kind of move the feet around. It makes it a little easier. But great job on that, Mike from B&D. And the other thing I got that I was really, really excited, because I'm an old Dent Wizard guy. Mike from B&D's new bar. I'm a flat bar guy. I don't use them as much as I used to, but I saw Manny had these, and I was like, man, I got to get one of these. So I haven't tried it. What I really like is that thin profile at the end that'll let you slide down in the door with the glass still in it. It does have interchangeable tips. He did come up with his own tip size. So it is smaller than the standard, but in the little bag, he gives you a couple little tips and then an adapter that goes on here that'll fit your standard tips. Now, one thing I thought was pretty cool on this tool is he also includes the little adapter for all of the Gorilla handles or the B&D handles that can go on here. So I think it's got pretty good versatility, chances of using it in different places. Super high polished. I mean, you guys can see it. I mean, you see my grimy hands all over it. I should have cleaned it off. But it seems like a really, really well-made tool. We'll have to put it in the works here in the next few weeks, and I'll let you guys know what I think. But I love flat bars. I have a bunch of dent dials, and I'm an old Dent Wizard guy. That's all we had back in the day. We were glue pulling with Home Depot glue, and it was a bit crazy. But I want to get into the show. We got a lot to go over tonight. Let me get him on. What's up, Matt?
What's going on, bud?
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on.
I want to tell you congratulations on the new location. I've been watching it from go. And if you guys, we're not going to get into Matt, because that'll be the whole show here. And I said this, I was talking to someone today about the show, and they were like, yeah, Matt's a super cool dude. And I said, you know what? I've spent some time with Matt at Mega Media. We had a lot of conversations at Mega Media in October. And you're huge on systems and the way you set things up. And I truly think that's what's really helped you get to the next level and do the things that you're doing, is how good you are on putting systems, on making everything flow together. So let's not get into that, but I just want to tell you congratulations on the new location.
Well, thank you. Yeah, most of that's from trial and error. Most of that is, just having a reason you do the things you do, and that kind of ties in with what we're doing with the upcoming seminar. It's kind of having a reason you do the things you do, and not just doing it because you're being told to. So
yeah. Now let's get into that. What are the dates?
Yep. So the upcoming seminar is actually a week, about 10 days from now. It's April 10th and 11th is our first one. It's a weekend, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to be hosting it at our new shop, which is in Duluth, Georgia, which is essentially a suburb of Atlanta. It's the new shop that we've been taking pictures of and everything. We're going to be hosting it there. And we're going to do another one in the summer. We're working on dates for that, either June or July. We'll do a second one in the summer. So some guys would travel; they may not be able to make this one. We get that, so we want to give those options. And it's called the PDR 101 seminar. If you're checking it out, you can go to the website. It's just pdr101seminar.com, and it gives you a lot of the information. But for me, if you're cool with it, I'll just get into why we even doing it. It's every person I've ever talked to in this business, when they first got into it, they either got into it by basically working for someone else, maybe Dent Wizard or another big company, and had training, and then you have issues if you ever want to try to leave or whatever. You go and you pay someone for training, right? Yeah. Or you're kind of self-taught. Maybe you go buy some tools and then you watch videos on. And now with YouTube, a lot of guys nowadays are trying to kind of self-teach themselves. The challenge is, I don't think people know what questions to even ask when they first get started, right? Like this is a major deal to start a career in this industry. I just said this the other day. I was talking to somebody and we were talking about that when you start a career in this industry, if you're going out and working for yourself, you're literally simultaneously starting the two hardest things you'll ever do in your life. And in my opinion, PDR is like the hardest thing to learn to do. And people kind of realize that. They kind of don't when they first get into it. And being a entrepreneur on your own is the thing that you'll lose the most sleep over. You'll lose the most stress over. You'll have marital problems because of, or what. I mean, it's the thing that's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And I'm not saying it's not doable, but it's extremely challenging. And so what we basically kind of wanted to do was essentially just come together at the very beginning, if you are considering or thinking about starting in this career, and sit down in very kind of small, intimate groups of guys that are like-minded, and have the ability to kind of plan out a roadmap for that person's career. And because you and I both know that everyone's career is going to look different, right? And a lot of the guys that are selling training, they do a fantastic job, but unfortunately, they're all kind of going to tell everyone that my training is the perfect fit for every person that we talk to, and it's because those trainers are very confident in their abilities to train, but the problem is one person's time frame and roadmap is going to look different. A 40-year-old with 2 kids who's been a firefighter his whole life and he's quitting his job and maybe he has a little bit of money, but he does not have the ability to not have a career for a year and a half. His path has to look different than a 19-year-old with no money, but all the time in the world to train, right? And those are 2 different paths. And then even just based on your market, one guy may want to go into retail, one guy may want to go into wholesale, and one guy may be better off working for someone else. And so what we want to do is I've likened it a lot to like a almost a police ride along video. Or if you anybody who's watching who's been in the military, they went to a recruiting office where you talk to someone who is in the military. They talk to you about it. They talk to you about the highs. They talk to you about the lows. And to some degree, they're trying to vet to make sure that you're even understand what you're signing up for.
Yeah. Kind of a precursor. You know what I mean?
It is. And in my view, if anyone is interested in going through, like, to become a tech in this industry, starting with something like this is going to put them on a path that I can with expertise or whatever, I can sit down and I can say, look, this is your path to success. And it's hard work, but this is your best, based on what you're telling me, based on what we're talking through, these are the tools you need to invest in first. This is the path that I think, you between talking to them. And so it makes it where they're not taking blind steps. A lot of guys, they
wing it.
They wing it. They know they need tools, but they can't afford every set out there and they don't know the difference. They've never touched an A1 set versus a Blim set versus a Dent Craft set versus anything that they don't know. So they might even settle for like an Amazon or an eBay set.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
I
oh, they
get it all the time. Guys are like, what's the best tool set to buy? And I was like, there is none.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you kind of have to, it's kind of a you know, it's kind of a buffet style. You're going to buy a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's going to change. You're going to be like, man, I love this tool. And then you get something else. You're like, man, why? You know?
And as a tech who's, you know, when you're a 10 or 15-year tech, you can justify buying 3 tools that are slightly different because they make you 5 minutes faster because your time is that valuable. But when you're a first-year tech, your time is not that valuable, and your money and your resources may be more valuable at the time. So you may be better off buying one tool that's kind of multifunction, and we can help kind of talk through that and show the reasons why. And anybody can do that. I'm not saying that we have like a corner of the market on this, but the purpose of the seminar is to come in and in essentially 2 days, we've told everyone who's talked to us about coming, you will not learn to be a PDR tech in 2 days. I'm not selling that. I think, you know, and you and I both know that's not true. That you couldn't learn to be in that short amount of time. I don't believe you can learn to be it in 2 weeks. I don't believe you can learn to be it in 2 days. But I can.
What's your average? If your guys that you've trained, how long?
Year and a half to where they're pretty much, you know, over the hump. In 6 months of them doing it every single day, they can be wholesale quality and be okay at that point. And they're well on their way. A year and a half though, before I'm kind of like no safety net is needed with them.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a faster timeline. It's certainly faster than my own timeline. And I believe it's because a lot of it is because they're not answering the phones or doing taxes or having to do anything. You know, when you're a small business owner, your timeline's going to be slower than that.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys just, I mean, they go through training and you know, like it or not, they get told, you know, hey, in 2 weeks, you're going to make $100,000 at the end of this 2-week training. And it's just that, you know, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer on this, but it's just not true. And so what we want to do is I want to sit down and talk very realistically and very honestly and say, you know, if success is what you want, if you're at A and Z is where you want to go, I can help plot out we can help plot out B, C, D, E and kind of get you there. And because a lot of guys, you know, they may go through 2 months of struggles after going to a training, and it may just be par for the course. Those struggles may be exactly what they need to expect, but they were never told that. And so they think, this isn't for me. I'll sell my tools and I'll go back to my old job. You and I know it happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I get a lot with the body guys, you know, the older body guys that try to get in and figure it out. And
you know, the reality is if they were given a realistic timeline and given a path that someone was being super honest with them about, this is what you should expect, this is what your career should look like, they would be a little bit more patient and be able to go through that hump. Or they would set themselves up differently to where they're not jumping in with 2 feet day one with no safety net below them, right? Exactly. Or they might save up for 6 more months and live a little bit below their means so that they have a bigger net, net to catch them. So there's a lot of, and that's the thing, is that every one of these examples are real world examples that I've talked to guys that are almost identical to this, and it's endless. And so what we want to basically offer is the ability for you to come in, tell your story, and it's not a mastermind group, it's not a hot seat, but you're going to tell your story. And in that weekend, we're going to basically have we're going to talk about what the theory, what light reading, why we use lighting, because we're going to assume a lot of these guys don't have any experience with it. We're going to get some hands-on with the tools. We're going to get some hands-on with blending. We're going to get some hands-on with glue pulling. And then we're going to talk business strategies, and we're going to talk about, all right, when you leave here, what's your next steps, right? What steps are going to be, so that 5 years from now, you're super successful and we're going and seeing each other at MTV, so that 3 years from now, you're super successful, so that a year from now, you're on that path to success. Mm-hmm. And so genuinely, that's what we want to do. And I feel like there's a lot of guys in the industry. One of the reasons that this actually became a thing was Ray Sapnew, minding your buddy Ray. He and I were talking about someone who wanted to potentially learn in his area, and it was one of these things we didn't really know what to tell this person, and it was like I don't know if I want to tell him to go spend $10,000 on tools, but I also don't want to hire him day one if I don't even know if he's serious. And so we basically said, what if there was a way for them to come together and basically put a toe in the water and come away and have at the end of that 2 days, they're not going to be a tech, but they're going to know if they want to be one. And that was basically what this spawned out of. It genuinely was just something that we felt like there was a need in the industry. There's a lot of high level training, and a lot of guys I'm going to recommend when they come through mine, I'm going to recommend them to go to a trainer. That's the path that I'm going to recommend them on, right? But there's going to be some that maybe that's not the right fit for them, and we'll have that path as well.
Now, when these guys are coming, are you kind of getting into that little end of the business end of, okay, you got to remember, you're going to end up having to pay taxes, advertising, marketing. Are you kind of breaking that all down for these guys?
Yeah, the goal is to show in a lot of ways what the actual cost of going into this business is. If you're making whatever you make, but you're a painter at a body shop and you made $80,000 last year and you want to come and become a PDR guy, if this is what your path is, and if it's going to take you X amount of time to get to this path and you're going to invest this much in training, this is what your actual decision is costing, right? And so let's make sure that you're weighing it with the gravity that it's going to take, and that you also have a long-term enough thinking to make it successful and not waste that kind of money, right?
Makes sense, because we've all done it. You know what I mean? I remember when we first started, I came home, I kind of just did it, and I came home a week or two later, and I look at my wife, and I was like, I think I made him. I'm as experienced tech, just trying to start with nothing. Yeah. And I look at my wife, and I was like, I think I made a mistake. Yep. She looks at me. I could see it in her face, and she goes, "You better figure it out."
That's a good woman. That's awesome. Yeah, and that's the reality. That's what a lot of guys have to have. Is you just got to get up the next day and go to it. But it's a lot easier to do that if you have a realistic understanding of what's in front of you, what that path is. It's for us, again, I liken it a lot, and I've said this a few times. I liken it a lot to like a police ride along or like that military recruiting. This is a choice that you need to be taken seriously. And I fear that a lot of guys don't take it as seriously as it is, or they don't even know what questions to ask. So the person who's selling them something is telling them what they kind of want to hear to some degree. And
I also think it's a perception. It's kind of like, I had the comment this week. We did a roof on a car at a body shop right next to a body guy. And the guy, we get done, we're packing up, and the guy's like, "What do you do with all that money?" Maybe I should start. Maybe I'll transition to a paintless guy. He's like, "You're not getting dirty. You're clean. You just made all this money in a couple hours."
Yep.
And I looked at him and I said, "Do you know how much money I didn't make for 20 years?"
Yep.
That's the type of guy I think that it would benefit to come to something like that, because then he takes him out of that box. It's not all about the money. This is what it's going to take. And then he, like you said, he's not out buying tools, then spending a couple $1,000 on training. And he's like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
So
what made you come up with this?
Genuinely seeing that there was, to some degree, just seeing that there was nobody doing anything like this. And I felt like everyone, it's almost like there's like gates to get into this industry, right? And you're either going to work for a company like mine, or, maybe you go for wholesale like Dent or whatever it is. And they're going to have their own kind of motivations. When I'm interviewing people, I'm kind of determining, are they good for PDR, but I'm also determining if they're a good fit for my company. Right. Yeah. And so, I am not always going to be, if they're applying for a job with me, I may not be the best candidate to tell them, could you make it in the end? I may be telling them you could make it, but you're not going to be a good fit with us just for whatever reason. Right. Or you're going to go through the self-taught, which again, you're going to make so many mistakes you don't even know you're making, and you're going to cost yourself so much money and time without realizing it. And both in opportunity cost and tools that you buy and whatever it is.
100%.
Or you're going to go through paid training. And unfortunately, for a paid training, the gatekeeper to the industry for you is selling you something, and they're saying, "Hey, pay me, and I could get you in." They're gonna, and I'm not, and I'm certainly not. I'm really, really close friends to a lot of trainers, and they do a fantastic job. But no, and I know that a few great ones out there. I know that Jim and Mike and some other guys that are out there. They vet their candidates very, very thoroughly. To the best of their ability, right? But I know there's other companies out there that don't, and I think that a lot of times some of those companies end up getting a lot more candidates come through and it's a churning door, and they kind of, at the end of it, their success rate's very, very, very low. You and I both know that.
Yeah.
And I've talked to several guys that have kind of seen some of those numbers, and it's less than 10% success rate at some of the higher churn and burn type schools. And with that kind of thing, okay, like that's a business model, but at least be honest with the people coming through the door. At least say, look, I'm going to train you and give you tools, and when you walk out the door, you still have to work your ass off, and you still are probably not going to make it. But if you do, that's what's going to make you more valuable. At least just be honest about that, right? Like,
exactly.
That's okay.
I mean, I have a friend of mine, James.
Yep.
Paid a guy, went to training, came home, practiced for a year, started coming with me, and everything he did for a year was wrong. Yep. He wasted a year because it was wrong. And he's like, when we really started getting into it, he's like, I don't know if I can do this. He's like, I think it's going to take me a long time to get over that hump to where I'm making money to where I can survive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, dude, like, and I say this to Shane, my guy, and I said, when we first started coming down this route, I said to Shane, I said, I can put the tools in front of you. I can give you the training. But from there on, it's on you. This job, that's what's different about this job than a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
Okay? This job is 100%. If you're not 100% devoted and in your head, you're thinking paintless dent repair, paintless dent repair, paintless dent repair, practicing, working, pushing yourself, you're not going to make it.
Yeah. No, I mean, even in our shop, our shop's a little bit unique in that they're not really wholesale, they're not chasing lots, they're not having to grind it in the outside. A lot of the work is kind of being sold and funneled in, but it's on them to become the best they can possibly be. Even our pay structure is set up to where the better you are as a skill tech, not as a speed, not as a money, but the skill that you bring to the table makes you more valuable to our company. And so that's on them. I can only train them so far. I mean, I can train most techs to 75, 80% within kind of our system. And then I have to focus on other things, right? Like I can't stand with techs every day for the next, 2 years, right? That's not realistic as a company. So as a result, it's on them to make themselves and to push themselves and to challenge themselves. And when no one's looking, when that dent's 95% and they know they could probably sell it at that, when no one's going to be there other than them and maybe the techs around them, they have the integrity enough and the self-value enough to push themselves to get over that 5% hump and spend the extra 2 hours that doesn't really affect their paycheck that much. It's just integrity at that point.
To make it right.
And to make it right. And that's, for us, that is that's a big part of, our company and how we have it. And if you're an independent, you have to do that. And on top of that, you have to do, and then on top of that, you have to do your taxes, and we were just talking about off the air about your SEO and your marketing and your Google AdWords and all the headaches that go into that. It's, there is an enormous amount of challenges that people don't even realize that they're going to face. And what we want to do is essentially just say, look, the challenges are there. And that's the kind of the beauty of this industry. But if you can persevere, then you're more valuable. And that's why you can have value at the end of this career. At the end of the day, I like, there was a story that I think it was Keith Cosentino said this one time, but it was a story that it was like, at the end of the apocalypse and, all of civilization is going to be behind this wall. And, hey, you're a doctor, get in here. You come behind the next guy, he's a farmer, get in here. And I'm a dent guy. I can move metal and straighten it. And as long as there's no paint damage, I can, we're not that valuable in the long run, but we have the opportunity to lead very good lives and have success because what we do is so incredibly hard. It's so artistic. And that path has got to be the realistic version of that path has to be, hey, this is going to be super, super hard. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. And at the end of the day, if you persevere, you'll be worth it. And that's what makes this career worth it. And that's the sales pitch to anyone that's coming through is that it's worth it. And I found it worth it. You found it worth it. There's a lot of guys that did.
I think it gets to a point to where you get into a point of your career to where you're higher priced than your competition, right? You're pricing yourself higher. But at that point in your career, you can and you're not worried about being the most expensive guy because you know when that customer comes in, gets the repair done, and they leave, you're that Mercedes service department, not the Hyundai service department. Not saying anything's wrong with the Hyundai service department at all, but you get to a point in your career to where you can make that call to, I'm okay. Well, you're twice as much. You're going to be twice as happy when you leave.
Yep. Yeah.
You know,
and that's the goal with anybody who's going through this. And one of the reasons that I find this is, I think that in the industry, this is going to be really a need that even within the industry, guys don't potentially may not have seen this. But I mean, I again, when I was talking to Ray about this, if you're a technician and you've got that body man that says, "Hey, I want to come work for you," what's that look like? And as a technician, you're thinking, "I don't know what to do with this guy. I don't want to be a jerk, but I also
got to be real with them."
Yeah, but what we're getting at is that if this person is realistic and you think they really want this, then this may be a fantastic opportunity for you to say, "Hey, go to something like this, see if this is a good fit for you." Let them kind of peel back the industry, give you all your options, and then if you still want to join this, then we can have that conversation, right?
And that's the hardest thing. I had the conversation not long ago with someone, and they were a body guy. They've been a body guy for a while, making good money. And you look at them and you say, they've got a family, they've got a mortgage, and you look at them and you're like, this is going to be hard for the next year and a half, 2 years. You're going to struggle. You're not going to make the money you're making now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you taking your life right now and saying, you want to be a lawyer. Okay. You're going to step away from Easy Dent. You're going to go to college. You're going to go try to be a lawyer. It's going to be 5 or 6 years of your life, and it's going to suck for 5 or 6 years because you're in school. It's the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if I was going to be a lawyer, or if I was going to go into real estate, or if I was going to go into whatever that is, I would probably go out and probably seek out counsel of others who have had success. Or if there was some kind of hey, thinking about becoming a lawyer, come here and as long as it wasn't gimmicky and sales pitchy or whatever. And I get that can look like anything, but for us, we're a PDR shop who has PDR technicians, who has employees that push dents every day. And we're basically saying, peel back the curtains, come in our shop, see how we do it, and let's have this honest conversation. And at the end of the day, we're going to hopefully send you in a direction that either you're going to be successful in a PDR career, or you're going to have saved a bunch of money and headaches because you found out it wasn't for you. Or and even if that is the case, even if you decide this isn't for me, this time frame, now that I kind of see it, it's not for me, you're going to be a better body man because you know a little bit about PDR. You're going to be a better painter, or better insurance adjuster, or better whatever it is because you've had a little bit of exposure. You're not going to lose anything by coming to a seminar like this. It's a very low risk type thing. That's why we do it on the weekends. We're not asking you to quit your job. We're saying come down, stay at a hotel for 2 nights, and at the end of it, determine if this career is right for you.
Now, Josh is asking, have you ever invested in a guy that did not work out?
That's a great question. Since we've had the shop, I have not had a guy that did not work out. We are very, very slow to hire. When we hire, it's a slow vetting process. We are, and part of that is that for us, it's not just about, do we think you could push dents? We think we want to know if there's a culture fit with who they are and who we are as a company, right? We want to make sure that candidate fits our core values. And so we are very slow to hire. We have a lot of guys who have applied, who are fantastic PDR techs, but that haven't been, it's not either been the right time or they're not the right fit. And we want to be friends with, but from a kind of who we are as a company, it's got to be the people who, my guys that are watching, they're going to laugh at it, but we like it that we're in this boat together, and you've got to have 2 feet in that boat. You got to be all rowing in the same direction, and you got to want to be there. And if you're not, if one person's in that boat, we have a picture of a crew team in our office, but if one guy's in that boat and he's like, I don't know, maybe he's slowing the whole thing down, right? It doesn't work. And so for us, we are very, very big in the recruiting. Sorry. Bob and my texts are making fun of me for my flannel. Thanks, Bob. He just called me a minute ago. Anyway, the for those listening, they're making fun of my shirt. But we're very big into when guys come through the door, it's not about can you fix a dent, because the reality is I can train anyone to fix a dent if given enough time. But we want to know, are they going to fit who we are, and at the end, and do they want to be a part of this team, right? And and we have a lot of guys that we have a lot of conversations with guys, but we're slow to hire. I had one guy before I had a shop that I trained, but I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. I didn't have my systems in place. I didn't have that. And he learned to push, but it wasn't a good fit long-term. And he could have been a great technician, but it wasn't for me. It was me. I did him an injustice because I didn't even know. I just wanted an employee at the time.
Yeah.
And so, but with our shop now, again, it's, I have my shop. I'm in the Athens shop right now. I basically came in for about 30 minutes at the end of the day on my way home, and then I'm back tonight. Like I wouldn't be able to do the next shop and hire the next people without trusting the people that are here, and that they can basically run this the way that I see it and want it. And it's not because I'm like, hey, you guys, you're fired if you don't do things a certain way. Instead, it's
you showed them.
I want to bring people in who see the world the same way I do, and see the thing and have the same values and the same integrity and hard work and team mentality and all these things. And if I bring people in that are like that, then it becomes second nature. And I was talking about this. I was talking about this literally today. If we weren't, Gene Fetty and I were talking about this. If I wasn't pushing dents, we could literally I truly believe if dent repair became illegal tomorrow, right? Like it couldn't happen. I truly believe with the people we have, we could pivot into any business model or into many, many business models and be just as successful because we have the right mentality and the right. I could sell diapers for a living and we'd be fine. Like whatever it is, the people that we have would be successful at it. And it's not, so it's not that we're great at fixing dents. I mean, we are really good at it, but we have the people that want to be here.
That's it.
And they get it.
It's kind of like Shane with me.
Yeah.
Shane's got my back.
Yep.
He does everything, you show them, you introduce them to how you like to have things done. And they put a little bit of spin on it, but it's still the easy dent way. You know what I mean? Yep. It's still and you have those people to where you're like, I know he's going to do the right thing. You don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And for me, that's one of the reasons, and I'm not trying to go off on the systems and processes. I know that's a whole nother show. It's one of the reasons we have that, though, is because if something goes wrong, then as an owner and as someone who's a manager, they look at it and they say, do we have a system in place for this thing? Did this go wrong? And if it went wrong, did we as a company have a system or a process? And if we didn't, then that's on us, right? But if we did, and someone deviated from that, then that's where, okay, well, you need to be held accountable for deviating from those systems. And so for me, I mean, even with this seminar, we do systems because we can create measurable things to know if things are working, right? Like that's kind of what we're doing with systems. We're creating processes to then determine if something's working or not. And if it's not working, let's shift the process. If you just go and say, hey, I want to start a new career, here's $10,000, train me to do this thing, it's not going to work, right? You need to determine like what success looks like, what that time frame looks like. And what we're here to do is essentially to help create a path and help you create some of your early systems that you can then grow your business on. Exactly.
And that's difficult. You're way better at that than a lot of guys in the industry. You seem to, you geek out on it. Like that's your thing. Like you really dissect it and you've done really well. Even just in a year's time, I could see the grow on you and how you were implementing things.
A lot of it is
made that funnel.
As an owner buying into what I'm telling people I buy into. I mean, that's part of it is honestly, as soon as I buy in, my people buy in. As soon as my people buy in, if it works, it's going to work. And that's just, and production goes through the roof as a result of it too. If you've got all these people that are in a lane where they want to be doing exactly what they're custom hired and fit to do, you're hell of a lot more productive and more valuable than you are if you're trying to do everything and wear all these different hats and everything like that. When I'm sitting behind the computer, I'm making the company the most valuable I can make it, as opposed to if I'm out there fixing a dent or whatever it is. My guys are probably laughing at me because they're making fun of me for trying to fix dents these days, because they basically kick me out of the shop nowadays. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
So Alex is asking, any advice on dealing with anxiety of growing too fast?
Yeah. To me, again, it's a determine, again, this may be a whole different conversation or podcast, but determine who you want to be in your company, what that you want that to be, and start going towards that. And if you're going too fast, it's probably, and if it feels overwhelming, it's probably because you don't have people around you, or you don't have systems in place, or you don't have, maybe you're growing so fast you can't hire anyone at that point because you don't have time to slow down. If you're already in that and you're already growing too fast, I would encourage you to start trying to scale, even on a microscopic level, even if it's just hiring someone to answer your phones, or even if it's just trying to hire someone to do your SEO and your AdWords, or if it's, and you talked about the Dream event. That's actually what I'm speaking about at the Dream when I'm going to be there. It's about kind of taking that first step in scaling, and that it doesn't have to be as scary as people kind of think. Because I think a lot of people think when I'm scaling, that means I have to like be able to pay 401ks and have this person, and I'm committing to it. It doesn't have to be. For me, that's what we went in that kind of all in direction. But I've had conversations with other techs and kind of advised them, just hire someone to answer the phones for you. That's a version of scaling, because you hate being on the phone, you hate being distracted, you hate being interrupted from doing the thing that you love doing, which is fixing dents. We do again, we're going to get off too much, but okay. Alex, you said it was Alex, I think, was who asked this question. We do an exercise it's just the circle square exercise. Basically, you write down everything that you do in a day, write down literally everything you did yesterday in your day. And then you take that same pen and you circle all the things you absolutely loved doing yesterday. And then you take that same pen and you square all the things you absolutely hated doing that day, right? The things that gave you anxiety. For me, it was when I was fixing a dent and the phone would ring and I'd have to put on the smile face and then go back to whatever it was. It may be doing taxes. It may be dealing with customer service, whatever it is, maybe doing invoices, but square the things you hate, circle the things you love, and you're going to have a bunch of things kind of in the middle. And if you're going to think about scaling, scale by hiring those squares. Hire people to fit the things that you hate doing or aren't good at. It's as simple as that, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. And if you start thinking about that, what you hate doing may be very, very simple. It may literally be, I hate having to go and get cars from the front lot and bring it in the back. Well, guess what? That's a $10 an hour job written all over it, right? Yeah. Like that's a really, really easy fix. And all of a sudden you took away the thing that gave you the most headaches. If it's I hate answering the phones, then hire someone to answer the phones, because not only are you going to be doing the things you love, but you're going to hire someone that's their whole job, and they're going to be better at it than you because they like doing it. You're not good at it if you hate it. Like it's going to seep through. So anyway, I know that's kind of going off, but yeah. So if you're overwhelmed with work, think about scaling. Think about what it means to scaling.
Now, he's saying Matt's dropping some gems. I was like, haven't even got into the gems.
All my guys are making fun of me right now. They're dropping because they've heard these speeches so many times. So ignore all of those guys.
Just means they believe you.
Yeah, that's right.
So do you have what's the price point on this event?
Yeah, so for this one, it's the first one, we dropped it as low as we possibly can. It's $675. Is the cost to be there. It's 2 days for $675. You can't go to a real estate conference for less than $1,200. We tried to make it literally as cheap as we could. We're not, at that, unless we have 50 people showing up or 30 people showing up, we're not making any money right now. This seminar for this coming weekend is going to be very small with COVID and spring break, and it kind of being our first one. It's going to be a small event. We think it'll be the smallest, which means it's going to be most hands-on, most intimate setting, and it's going to be the most one-on-one time. So if you're interested, we still have obviously spots available. And like I said, for $675, you come in and we can get you started. And at the end of it, again, if you're a body man, a painter, or a DIYer who's thinking about getting into this, you're going to get $675 with the PDR skills that you can walk and learn some push to paint or pull to paint or whatever that is in 2 days. It's a no-brainer.
Now, who do you have coming? Who's speaking? Who is involved?
It's honestly, it's going to be a lot of my techs. We've got a couple of guys that are in the wings that are going to Zoom call in and talk. It's not the seminar in the same way that like the Mega Media or some of these high level seminars are. What this is literally going to be is straight down to the core of more of it's an open house, come in our shop, see how we do things. We're going to have classroom time where we talk a little bit, but that's boring to most people after a while. And so most of it is going to be hands-on with tools, but we're going to be talking a lot of business minded. And again, the goal of it is on day 2, before you leave with a plan in place. Sorry, there's a fire engine outside. With a plan in place, and then you're going to also leave with resources in place in front of you. You're also going to leave with tools that are recommended, that we feel like these are a great start if you've got this budget. This is a great tool set if you've got this budget. This is a great tool set if you've got this budget. And so when you walk away, and again, you can buy whatever tools you want. If they have questions, I'll answer honestly, and they can use anything in our shop. But we're going to have some tool demos that they can play with, and then walk away knowing that if they want to spend $1,000 or $600 on tools, or $100, like if they want to buy one tool, I'll tell them the one tool that I would recommend. That's literally it's where we're going to customize this for every single person that comes through. Part of what we're doing is a survey in advance to where every person that comes through, we know what level they're at, we know what their experience level is, and we know what they're hoping to get out of it, and so that we can, to the best of our ability, put everyone on a path to be successful.
I think it's a great idea. I really do. It there's nothing like it in the industry, and I think at that price point, I think you priced it just right. You know what I mean? I think you're in that sweet spot of $600.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's a drop in the bucket. I think me knowing you, they're going to get a lot more than that out of it. Just because the information that you have, you know what I mean? The simple question, people are going to ask questions. You're going to have really good answers. It's not just a bunch of BS or fluff, and you want to make this work. You know what I mean? You want guys to leave out of there like, damn, that was amazing.
What I would love, honestly, would be if a guy came down and he was in your backyard. He worked market, right? And he came to me and went through this seminar, and basically at the end of it, he said, you know what? I think after talking to you, I've decided I don't really want to work for myself. I'd love to do dents. I love the idea of that. But owning a business, I want to focus on the artistic side. Maybe I'll work on my own business down the road. But right now I want to focus on being a dent guy. I'm not sure that I want to take on both of these challenges at the same time. Then because of our knowledge of guys in the industry, I mean, just through seminars, through PDR contractors, through just who we know in the industry, I can say, okay, in your market, there's 3 guys that I would have a conversation with. And if you want me to put in a word for them, I'll call and I'll introduce you to Ryan and see if there's a fit for him. Maybe Ryan's looking for some help. And then you, Ryan, when I call you, it won't be just, hey, I got a dude who might be interested. It's like, no, I've got a guy who's invested in it. He took the first step. He's serious about this. He's bought some of his own tools. He's taking these steps, but he's a little scared to maybe do the SEO and marketing and AdWords and Facebook and everything else. You've already got that in place. Would he be a good fit to come into your team? And so if you're a PDR guy that's has someone, again, you've got a brother-in-law who says, hey, I want to learn PDR, and you're kind of rolling your eyes and thinking, I don't want to waste my time training this guy, get him to put a little bit of skin in the game. Josh, I agree.
Josh Dragos in here, and he just started not long ago, last year, I believe. And it is. We all, when you look at the picture, and I've sat down with guys, interviewed them, and everybody wants to be their own boss.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to be their own boss. Everybody wants to own their own company. For one, it's not for everybody.
Yep.
For two, do you know how much easier it is? And some days I look at it, I was like, you know what? I think I made more money when I work for somebody else.
Yeah.
You didn't have to deal with the BS. You're just going, you're just fixing dents, and you're going home. It's very difficult to do both at the same time.
I agree. And even guys who do both at the same time, you find that many of them, after they become successful at that, start thinking about, okay, how can I not do both at the same time? How can I now just be a business owner? Right.
Yeah.
It's thanks, Danny. But it's like, how can I go, how can I start hiring a shop and having guys that work under it and under me and all this other stuff? And it's because they still realize it's super hard to do both well. You know, no matter how, that's why guys are selling advanced everything seminars, is because they realize that people don't have it all figured out. And even 5, 10, 20 years into your career, being a really good technician and pushing yourself there and being a really good business owner simultaneously is exhausting and hard and nearly impossible to do well all the time. So, you know, again, what we want to do is just give guys realistic picture. And if it makes sense for them, we'd love to have them. Thanks, Ray. Yes, that's exactly right, Ray. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the comments, but you know, we want to put a realistic picture in front of guys, and our goal is not to saturate the market with a bunch of guys, because I think what happens is a lot of guys that'll go into this, they've already spent $8,000 on training and they've spent $3,000 on tools, and then they when they get done with that 2-3 weeks, a month later, they can't fix a dent still very well. So what do? They say, well, I can't fix it, so I'll do the cheapest I can be, and then they go in, they whore out the market and they hack up jobs, and people are like, well, why don't they have integrity? Why do guys fix it? Well, because they're $15,000 in debt and they were promised that they'd make $100,000 by now. Like that, they're struggling. They're struggling. I get it. So again, you know, everybody's got a different business model, and I'm not hacking on anybody. I'm not hating on anyone, but to me, honesty is going to prevail. I think it's Grant Cardone who says this, but it's like, if you help enough people achieve their goals, you're going to achieve all your goals. I genuinely, if somebody comes through here and says, this is what I want to do, I'm going to be a super real and honest and hard. And sometimes I'm going to say hard truths, but we're going to hopefully put them on a path to where, if that's what they really, really want, that success is laid out in front of them.
Well, I think it's also going to eliminate that. I feel like
this
takes on and grows. I think it's going to eliminate those guys that are, like we said, flooding the market, because they're like, shit, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought. You know, it's just not as easy.
Because if that same guy was told, you know, he's got 3 months of savings in his bank account, and he thinks, well, I'll pay for 2 weeks of training, and by the end of 3 months, surely I'll be making enough money, right? Like, if he was told, look, that's not a realistic time frame. Maybe you should buy some tools, and maybe you should subscribe to some videos and practice in your garage for 6 months and work your ass off during the day at your current job, put some money aside and do this at night. And then in 6 months, then go pay for some training, and you're going to have a little bit more value out of that 2 weeks than you would today, right? Maybe that's the path that's for that person, right? And if he's told that, then maybe he doesn't, at the 3 months after his training, go out and hack up. Yeah, Zig Ziglar. Thanks, Dave. But he maybe he doesn't go out and hack up the market 3 months later because he was given a realistic picture and he made better, quote unquote, better choices because someone was honest with him up front. And so that's, to us, that's what we want to do, is we want to put guys in a position, and it's for our ability to try to hold the integrity of the industry and the integrity of quality of repairs, the integrity of pricing. All that starts with educating guys that are getting into it up front, and hopefully either weeding out guys that aren't really made for it and helping the guys that are made for it to succeed in the best path possible.
And I think even guys that have kind of like Josh, new guys that are still new, I think that would still be beneficial for them to come to an event like that. You know what I mean? Because you're going to break it down even more detailed than, hey, he may not have known that.
Yep.
Maybe that was something he was missing trying to grow. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great idea. When I kind of was reading into it a couple weeks ago, first I was like, what the hell is this? Where it kind of popped out of nowhere, But the more I read into it, and I was like, that makes complete sense. It's not even like a thing that you're looking at making money. You're doing it for the industry. You're doing it for the guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if I helped Ryan find your next employee, then in your head, Matt Moore made me a ton of money because of that, whatever that, your company's a better company as a result of it. If a guy comes through this and maybe he lives in my backyard, like, I would give him all the same resources. And at the end of the day, if he's like, Matt, I decided I really want to learn to do this, but I really don't want to work for myself, I'd rather join your team than work against you. Fantastic. Like, that's genuinely what I can get out of this is if somebody wants to come on board, then let's have that conversation. Right.
Yeah.
But the for me, again, one of the reasons we're not doing a big high level, crazy, mega crazy, whatever seminar that other guys do really well, but that's not for me, is because for me, I think that there's a ton of guys that are in this boat where they don't know what to do and nobody's really telling them this stuff. And so that's what we're trying to do again. So the biggest challenge we have, honestly, is that I am known to your audience because I'm known to PDR techs. But to the body man who's thinking about joining PDR, he doesn't know anybody's names. He doesn't know anyone in the industry. And so my name, face, company, any of that stuff doesn't matter to that guy, right? So what I need from guys that are in the industry genuinely is, if you know of anyone who's thinking about getting into it, let them know this is a resource. That's genuinely what.
And explain it.
Yeah, explain what it is.
Because a lot of guys are like, man, that's cheap training for PDR, and
yep,
it's not really. It's kind of it's almost like you're going to be a counselor.
Yeah.
You remember when you were in school and getting ready to graduate and you were with your counselor and they're like, okay, what are you thinking about doing?
What's your career path?
Colleges, or you're going to, and I think that's exactly kind of what you're doing.
Yep.
The PDR counselor.
I should have called it that. Well, that's why we called it 101, was because, I mean, you go through, you want to be a mathematician. You might go to Algebra 101, but everyone who goes through Algebra 101 isn't a mathematician. But that's the first step. Like, you got to go there to take some steps to kind of even determine, do I want to spend 6 years in college and go $100,000 in debt, right? Like, that's kind of what the 101 classes are for. Yeah. And so that's what we're doing, is literally like, just because you come to this doesn't mean you're any kind of a dent guy, doesn't mean you'll ever be one, but we want to create an opportunity for a first step. And then we want to create a funnel of, 3 years from now, this is where you could be and should be. And we want to help you get there, plug you in the right resources. And 5 years from now, maybe there's a 20 group out there that we can plug you in with. Now that you're, because we intend this to not just exist for 2 days and then we never hear from it. There's follow-ups that I use, CRMs for our sales business. We're going to automate a lot of our communication and reminders for me to call guys and check in on them 3 months later, a year later, and all that stuff. So a lot of this is follow up to make sure, and then resources down the road. If they have questions, we want them to have a place to come back to when they're struggling, when they're, get their door slammed in their face, when they screw up a panel and they don't know what to do with it. Like, that's what we want to be. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for you guys. I think it's going to, I think it's one of those things that'll be a slow start.
Yep.
But I think it's going to, I don't know. I know you well enough to where I'm like, I know it's worth a value. So it's going to be, explaining it to someone else.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, if we did this and we do 3 or 4 of these and it never takes off, I still feel like for the guys who do come and we, if it's a small class every time and we put it into it at some point, I still feel like it's worth doing. Just for those guys. Like, I'm excited about this first class that's coming up. I'm excited about the guys that are coming in. And I hope that they go crying from the mountaintops that it's a super great value, and that the next one, all of a sudden we've got, I don't want a ton of people in my shop just because I want everyone who comes in know what to slip through the cracks. I want it to be.
Well, you're also keeping it more intimate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think sometimes I feel like you get more value when it's a smaller group.
Yeah. I personally feel like the like sweet spot for learning is if you can have like 1 to 3 guys, like one guy teaching to like every 3 or 4 guys that are there, they're going to be there and they learn from one another, right? Like even if I'm pushing with a dent, when you're doing training with someone, if one guy's pushing, he's making mistake after mistake after mistake, and sometimes he can't even see what he's doing. But then you take him off of it and put somebody else on it, he can see the mistakes that other guy's making, and he's learning, and it also makes him feel like, oh, well, I'm not alone in this, or oh, this is doable, or whatever. So,
and like Ray said, I mean, the young guys, dude, if we had the resources that these guys had, it would be crazy. Tools, training, information all over the internet. We didn't have that. I remember hiding behind a building where nobody could watch me.
And you were using a piece of plastic with a spray painted line in the middle of it.
Yes.
Yeah, plexiglass, spray painted lines. It's like now you got LEDs with suction cups that automatically do it. You got your carbon fiber rods, and I mean it's ridiculous. Power PDRs. There's so many resources. That just make life easier, make your body not wear down as fast, better tools, better techniques, better everything out there. And we love it. We love the industry, the way it's going. I love the guys that are in it. And like you said, we never stop learning either. I mean, there's this idea of come to our shop so that you can maybe learn from someone who's a little bit further ahead and grow. Like I'm doing the exact same thing. I go to seminars all the time. I plug in with guys like Dave and like Gene and guys that I look up to in the industry. And I'm like, I want to learn from them.
Yeah.
How can I make myself better? And then guys outside the industry too, so for us, it's this mentality, you talked about within our company, there's mentality we were talking about today at the shop of that. We're like, if they're like rock climbing and you like grab the guy behind you and pull him up, and then you grab the guy in front of him and he pulls you up. That we feel like that's the way in the industry, and that's how you grow, and that's how you help the industry grow. That's how you make the industry more valuable. Yeah. I believe truly that the industry is coming out of this wild, wild west over the next 5 to 6, 7, 10 years. As insurance understands our businesses and our industry more, and as more shops pop up, it's going to be more validated, and helping the industry, helping others in the industry is going to help me. It's going to make my company more valuable. Yeah. If everyone around me, if PDR has a good reputation in the industry, then my business is going to do better.
Exactly. I do have to give one shout out. It's off subject real quick, but goddamn, I love that 2MB1 cart I bought, the carbon cart. I love it. I never used the mod rails until then, and I had a roof job and a hail car.
Yep.
Chad says, it's going to change your life. And I'm like, dude, come on. The car can't change my life. I've been doing this shit 20 years. Come on.
He's bringing them to my shop on Monday for my guys to check out. And the word on the street is he's going to let us have some at the show to let the techs that are there check out too.
It's different. It is a adjustment. But at the end of the day, like even Shane looked at me today. He was kind of doing the trunk. I was doing the hood. And he's like, damn, I like this cart. It's just easy. Everything's there, goes in and out. But shout out to those guys again. It's fantastic. Awesome. It is a fantastic cart.
Chad's a good dude. He's right in my backyard. He lives about 45 minutes up from my shop right now. So we bump into each other every once in a while, and he's a good guy. Todd's awesome. So yeah. Don't ever play golf with Todd. He'll take your money.
So where can guys sign up? Let's get all that going.
Yep. It's PDR101seminar.com. Simple as that. PDR101seminar.com, and there should be 5 or 6 links all over the place that says sign up here, sign up here, sign up here, and it's pretty simple. And plug in your info and you'll get on the email. We'll let you know all the details as far as the specifics of what time to show up and all that good stuff. But it's the very first one's April 10th and 11th. And then if you can't make that one, not to fret. If you want to go on that site and give us your information, then we can put you on the list for the next one. Or if you just want to be on the lookout, we're going to do another one again. It's either going to be June or July. Right now we've got June dates, and we may end up doing it into the beginning after the 4th in July. But we're doing another one in the summer. So we've got this one, and then we've got one in the summer on the books right now. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Cool. PDR 101 seminar. If you have any questions at all, just message me too. I'm happy to help out and answer any questions.
Fantastic idea. Really good idea.
Man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I want to get you on. I want to be able to pick your brain for an hour of some really goods that you can drop. So we're going to have to plan that,
I can't believe we hadn't talked before. When we were at that mega meeting, we were like, I thought we were going to talk the next week. And then you stood me up and I said, well, I guess that Ryan didn't like me as much as we thought. So I'd love to come on. I'm excited to come on. Let me know anytime. And anytime you want to chat about any subject, if you want to do a rundown of what we've done with the shop, we can have that conversation. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that want to know what it looks like when you build out a shop and how many headaches you have. And there's a lot of headaches that go into it. Come on
now. Always expect a lot more than you think it's going to be. And twice as long.
Twice as long, at least. That's the big thing that I didn't expect. So yeah, we can have that conversation anytime you want to have hit me up. Let me know.
Well, guys, get on there. I think it's a fantastic idea. And then also on the Dream event, get signed up. Matt's going to drop some gems on there, and he's got some really, really good. And one thing I really did like about the Dream event that Dave and those guys did, you see a lot of these seminars, and it's a lot of the same speakers, right? He seemed to bring in a lot of variety of guys you haven't heard a whole lot from. So I think it was a great idea for him to kind of change that speaker lineup up. Just some variety.
What's cool about that is, to interject, we did a little like precursor and talked about what everyone was going to talk about, and literally we were all like, oh shoot, I can't be talking at the same time as him because I want to hear what he says. Like, we all are like excited about learning from one another. So there's some really, really good guys that have a ton of perspective and a ton of experience, really.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. So get over there to sign up for that and just sign up for your seminar. Make it simple. You guys have a fantastic night. Thanks for joining us. And I will see you guys next week. Another Thursday. Hopefully it'll be warm here. Enjoy your evening. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Ryan. See you, buddy.
Keep it real, guys. See you later.